Hello, hello. Okay. I wanted to go live today to share a little bit more about the higher self awakening container. If you've been following along this week, whether it's in the stories or in the posts, you maybe realize that the container higher self awakening starts next week. Doors are currently open, but they will close tomorrow, Friday the 13th at midnight. And I want to share two things. Why did I create this container? And why doing the healing work at the quantum level, and I'll kind of explain what I mean by that, but has been so powerful for me and how it has helped me up level, not only just in my business. That's huge, right? Like that truly feels like I can now align with and build a freedom-based, soul-led business. Because gone are the days where we feel like we have to do business the hard way. Like the only way to build a successful business is through grit, grind, struggle, and 24/7 hustle. That's just not the case anymore. Healing is the biggest unlock. And my program's biggest promise is that when you heal, it is going to allow you to tap into all of your divine, feminine, intuitive, and spiritual gifts. And that is the key. That is the key, because then you can go forward and you can remember who you are, remember what your mission is, what your purpose is, shift your business to align with what you're meant to do. And then also continue to remain in the energy that as your own clear channel, we are all a spark of the divine. We all have this connection to higher self and intuition. So aside from doing the healing so that you can pivot and remember who you are and why you're here, you'll have this clear channel to your own intuitive information to drop down into your heart space and regularly receive intuitive information, trust the intuitive information that you're getting, and not only that, but take inspired action on it. Those are three key pieces to build your freedom-based, soul-led business, and to do business differently than it's ever been done before. Free of the hustle, free of the burnout. Now, so why I created this container, and then also just like how big this has been for me, because to be honest, the shifts have not just been in my business life for me or for the women who are in Higher Self Awakening, the summer edition. Of course, each of them saw different changes and pivots and beautiful up levels that happened in their business for each of them, obviously in their own unique way, because that's just it. My up level in my business is going to look different based on how I want my business to look, why I'm here, and what my business goals are. And that'll look different for another gal. So each individual who was through the summer version of Higher Self Awakening not only had an inner transformation, opened up her own intuitive channel so that she could up level and rise in her business, but at the end of the day, we're a multi-dimensional being. We don't compartmentalize. And so the healing and the shifts that happen when you join Higher Self Awakening broadly impact for the better all areas of your life. All right, so I'll rewind a little bit. As I mentioned, I'm the first person to have gone through, obviously, the experiences that I've been through, and it's why I created Higher Self Awakening. Through my own journey, I've tried a ton of different things. And I want to say I've tried, and some have worked, and some it's like, oh, I like that. I want to take that with me. I want to integrate that. I want to fully use that. And other pieces maybe haven't been for me. However, that's not to say that they won't vibe for someone else. That someone else is like, ooh, that wasn't my favorite, me, but it could work for a client. Some examples. I personally have tried breath work. It's not my favorite modality. Now, I use the breath. The breath is a modality in and of itself that one can use to calm and regulate the nervous system. Breath work is a specific techniques, all of that to say that was a technique that I tried but was not for me. but I know a lot of other people who love it. Now, on the other hand, something that I tried early on in my own journey was internal family systems, also known as IFS, and it's like IFS parts work. And it's often used, it can be used in conjunction with regular talk therapy, or again, the therapist that I worked with, she was just IFS trained, and she was like a trained person who could do IFS therapy, but also just do parts work coaching. Anyways, I really liked it. And that was a deeply transformational week for me to begin to connect with my inner child. And for a lot of us, we have inner child parts and inner child wounds that are still coming up in our current daily life. And so IFS parts work is a beautiful way to begin integrating our inner child with the current self. Other things that I've explored on this journey, and this has all been since around 2016, 2017. I've mentioned before, and if you've maybe listened to the podcast, I was a former healthcare worker. I had gotten an amazing job as an occupational therapist right out of grad school. And then about a year after being at that position, my dream job opened up, and I applied and I got in, and I was working for Mayo Clinic here in Rochester, Minnesota. And everyone's like, you're living the dream. This is it. And it was a great salary. It was amazing benefits. I mean, I had a great rehab colleagues, a team, and I hated it. I hated it. And I really tried to like it because it would have made sense, but my mental health was in the dumps. And so after about 2 years of trying to make myself fit in that box that I thought I was supposed to be in, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it anymore. So that was one of the biggest starts to my overall kind of personal development journey. Now, along the way, there have been components that I've really enjoyed. As I've mentioned, so IFS therapy really spoke to me. This whole concept of integrating all these parts of ourselves is key. And this is included in the higher self-awakening container. And I actually, there's so many reasons why this is important, why I resonate with it, but also one of my mentors, who I did my Akashic Records certification with, Amy Robeson. It's beautiful because I really love her program that was all about learning how to enter into and work with the Akashic Records. There was a whole component of it before we even got to doing more with the records of just healing, and it felt very much like parts work. It was getting to know all of our different, she called them like our inner bodies, like our mental body, our spiritual body, our physical body. But again, I loved it because it spoke to that parts piece. And what I have seen working with my clients one-on-one or in the group container is that true healing needs to be integrated in the full self. So sometimes people will start on a spiritual awakening journey, and they'll love, and they'll run to all the fun things. Like, let's say it's like, oh, I loved, whether it's I love being in the Akashic Records, or I love doing journeying meditations, or I love connecting with my spirit guides. All of that is beautiful. And at the end of the day, we are a spiritual being still having a very human experience. We are very much still in the 3D humaning world. And that human part of ourselves is the one that has all these aspects. Our ego, our inner child, your logic part, your inner critic, your doubt. And so there can't be one without the other. So that's why incorporating parts work into my signature program, Higher Self Awakening, is so important. Because it's going to support you in being able to fully align with your mission, your dharma, and your purpose, and live that out and express it in your soul-led, freedom-based business, and still show up in the day-to-day human world, knowing how to dialogue with your inner critic, knowing how to dialogue when doubt creeps in, knowing how to dialogue when you have a strong logic part that's like, this doesn't make sense to me. So we need tools to deal with all of those human aspects of ourselves. Okay, so IFS is one piece of the puzzle. Another thing that I'm a huge component of, and again, a huge proponent of, and I'm going to get to talking about the quantum healing because it's my favorite part and it's where I've seen the most progress for myself. But again, I want you to know that this has been a journey for me, and I have dove into all of these different aspects over, again, 7 to 8 years that I am super excited about to be incorporating all of them into an 11-week container so that you don't have to wander around for 8 years either doing all of these one-on-one sessions here and then doing this over here and all that. I really wanted to bring the best of the best, the most potent healing aspects, and put it all into this one container. So I'm really excited when you join. Okay. Another piece, though, that is key and that is also included in a higher self awakening is nervous system regulation. Because again, I love doing all the woo-woo. I love working in the Akashic Records. I love introducing people to seeing and opening up their psychic intuitive abilities so that you also can connect to your intuitive channel. You can connect to your higher self and your guides. All of that is beautiful. And again, we have to remember, we are still a spiritual being having a human experience. And as a human, we live in a body, a 3D body, and a nervous system. So as a human living in a body with a nervous system, we can have all the spiritual tools in our toolbox, and we still have to remember that we need to know how to calm and regulate our nervous system. So somatic work is so important when you are entering into a journey to tap into your intuition, to tap into your full spiritual soul self, is that you still have to remember you're still a human in a body with a nervous system. So for my clients and women that are in the higher self-awakening container, I have to make sure that we are using somatic body-based grounding practices for multiple reasons. One, when we begin to open up, like really open up our third eye and our crown chakra, and you begin receiving more intuitive information, we are spending more time in our upper chakras. However, we need to make sure that we are remaining grounded in our lower chakras, in our body, in our root, in our sacral, in our solar plexus. So that's one reason why building in nervous system regulation is so important, even when you're still on the spiritual journey. The second thing is, as I mentioned, we're still very much having a human experience. And so if you notice in your day-to-day world, you're having like something stressing you out, or this happens, or something happens with your family or your business, we still need tools to ground and center us, such as nervous system somatic practices, so that you can then use some of your other deeper spiritual tools. So that is a second component that's inside higher self-awakening. So we use IFS parts work so that we can integrate our whole self. We incorporate grounding somatic practices so that we can really remain this beautiful channel from our upper to our lower chakras and remain grounded in the present timeline. Now, the two pieces that absolutely have made the most difference in my journey, and I started both of them in June of last year, is when I kind of started dabbling in what I'm going to call quantum healing. So what is quantum healing? We are talking about doing healing not just in this plane and not even in just this timeline. So that is why these are two significant pillars inside higher self-awakening. Again, as I mentioned, we have to make sure that we're incorporating the human side of us. But when we get to the healing portion of healing trauma that's maybe happened in this lifetime and trauma that has maybe happened in past lives, that's when we are getting to working in the quantum field. Because with the training that I have, when women join the program, we do all of our healings in the Akashic Records. And the Akashic Records is part of the 5th plane of existence. There are 7 planes, and this is coming from Viana Steibel, who channeled this, and she's the founder of Thetahealing. And so we are currently in the third plane. That's why it's called the 3D. Okay, we're in the third plane of existence. The seventh plane, there's 7 planes. The seventh plane is where source and the divine is. And again, we all have this connection to source within us because we are all of source. We are all of and from the divine. Okay, so it's not like, oh, it's just for her over here and then I don't have it. It's like, no, we all have that connection. We are all a spark of the source. So that's on the 7th plane. The 6th plane of existence is where the universal laws, as well as the energetic blueprint of all that is, also known as the Akashic Records, is housed, shall we say, on that plane. And each plane is just, it's all now happening at different speeds. It's happening at different vibrations of frequency. And the higher you raise your vibration, the higher you go in frequency. So the Akashic Records is in the 6th plane. The 5th plane is where the high vibrational light beings are, and that's also where it's the guardians of the records. So the high archangels, Archangel Metatron, Archangel Gabriel, and Uriel, there's many of them. They are ultimately acting as the high angels guarding the guardians of the records or other ascended masters who have risen their vibration to that level. So think of individuals also like Jesus, Buddha, Mother Teresa, the Dalai Lama. Those types of individuals as well are vibrating in the 5D frequency. That is the level that we are doing the healing in when women join higher self awakening. So when I mean quantum, I mean that when we heal something in this container, you are healing it for all past and forward versions of yourself. So that's one level that it's happening at, okay? So the healing that you're doing here, because we're doing it in the Akashic Records and I have the container open, you are healing across all time and space. And I'm doing that through the Akashic Records, but also I'm doing it through subconscious reprogramming using a modality called Thetahealing, which is tapping into that 7th plane of existence to also shift and reprogram beliefs across all time and space. Okay? So it is no joke when I am combining the Akashic Records vibration and then pulling in subconscious reprogramming through the 7th plane of existence of the divine. Okay? That's what I mean by quantum level. So then not only are we getting across timelines, we are also healing it at an ancestral level. Why? Because the healing is happening in this body, and this body that you're in is built with codes of DNA that has been passed down through your lineage to be in the you of now. When we do a healing, I am witnessing the healing happening at a DNA level. And when it happens at a DNA level, it can then also positively impact and support healing of your ancestors 7 levels up, and also your descendants 7 levels down. Okay, so it's healing ancestral trauma. And then lastly, with the Theta Healing and in the Akashic Records, we are then also working at the soul level. So that is why quantum healing happens, because we're not just working in this moment, time, and space. We are working across the quantum field of all that is you, as well as your ancestral DNA, as well as your soul self. So I kid you not when I say that this 11-week potent container, you do end up getting 90 days of support, but the live calls and the healings all happen across an 11-week time span. And it is truly transformational. As I mentioned, I began doing this deep spiritual work last June, so a little over a year and 2 months ago. And I have seen the most change in my life. I would imagine, I should also say, one of my spiritual gifts is being able to see across time and being able to really work with timelines. that's a whole nother IG live. But okay, so what I want to say though is I can see that without the healing, would I have gotten to where I am today? Opening up this spiritual container, being able to do the healing, being able to get both certifications in Akashic Records and Thetahealing within a matter of 6 months, and then within 6 months of that, building this beta program to be where I'm at right now, opening it up to more women. No. Like, had I not started the quantum healing, I wouldn't have got here as fast. Would I have got here? Sure. Sure, absolutely. I think there definitely are timelines and possibilities where I could have maybe done one thing and sat in that and integrated in that, and then maybe done the next thing, sat in that and integrated in that. So truly, I have a feeling I would have wound up right here, kind of to these circumstances, probably over a 5-year period. But because I was able to rewrite subconscious programs, heal past life traumas, I'm able to bring it here and now. And I trust that this timing is my highest timeline. So I'm really excited to bring higher self-awakening to more women. I'm really excited to connect more women to their full intuitive gifts. And the last thing I will say to round out this IG live that I honestly thought was going to be like short and sweet, but I have my Akashic Records open. The guardians of the records are here and with me, and I'm just channeling through and kind of being called to share what is meant to be shared. Okay. So the other thing that I want to say then is, here's the biggest block. Okay. So I'm not special, or maybe I should, let me rephrase that, because words matter. I am special, and so are you. And so is your sister, and so is your brother, and so are your kids, and so is your neighbor, and so is the teacher of your child's school, at your child's school. Like, everybody is special, okay? And also, like, I'm not the only one that has these gifts, so do you. What I will say is all of our gifts come in different variations, shades, and flavors. That's the best way I can describe it. So I'm intuitive, so are you. I have spiritual gifts, so do you. I can do timeline work. You can too. And all of that happens on different levels, because absolutely, just like we're all uniquely made and created and have different human talents, you know, like I'm not a gifted basketball player, but I am really good at yoga, whatever. I mean, that is same with spiritual gifts, meaning there might be some spiritual gifts that like maybe you don't have and others do, or that maybe you would have to work more to elaborate on that spiritual gift, whereas someone else, it just comes really naturally to. So again, it all happens in different variations. But here's the biggest block then. So then you might be asking, so then Maria, why can't I use them as much as you are? What I really need you to know is that the me of 7 to 8 years ago was not doing any of this. Even though I was on a personal development journey, I was going to therapy, I was still healing stuff from this timeline. I was working on my anxiety. That didn't mean I was still like, I was not fully intuitive. I was still not tapping into my spiritual gifts. I would not have even been felt safe enough to say things like I'm intuitive or I'm psychic or I'm whatever. Like, I really feared those things. And you might too, on some level. You either might fear it, you might have a deep, deep fear of it, or likely a subconscious fear of it, so you might not be fully conscious of it. Or your brain is also cloaked you in the cloak of, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know what she's talking about. I don't know anything about that. I don't know. That's just another cloak. You do know. You do know, and you are intuitive. So what gets in the way? Beliefs that you might have around intuition, around a psychic, around being spiritual. If you were conditioned with any beliefs growing up as a child, or even you maybe got them during middle school, high school, college, that being psychic was bad, that being intuitive was bad, that being psycho meant you were crazy, or sorry, that was the wrong word. If you were psychic, that also meant you were crazy, like psychic, aka psycho. If you think any of those things, you sure as heck are not going to tap into your gifts, because your beliefs are like, oh no, we don't want to be that. Okay. So it could be from your conditioning. It could also be from a past negative experience. Many of the women who are in the program now, were in the program in summer, or past clients of mine, they know from this life they remember as a child, as a kid, a negative experience where they accessed their intuition and something bad happened after. So then the mind coupled the two together, that using my intuition equals bad. I know I had something similar to happen to me like that around age 6. And so I definitely know that was part of why, just a part of why I kept my intuition. And then finally, if you subscribe to the belief that this is not your first rodeo, that this is not your first incarnation, and you have had other lives, again, that's probably another IG live. We can chat on that. But if you know on some level that you have had some past lives, many women I work with have past life trauma where, again, you were persecuted, prosecuted, harmed, or killed for using your psychic or intuitive gifts in a different lifetime. And I definitely know I've had many lifetimes where that has happened, and I've had to do a lot of healing around that. That is why I created Higher Self Awakening, because intuition is not a how, okay? It's not, how do I do it, Maria? Quite frankly, once you do the healing, once you join Higher Self Awakening and you get through, I mean, you're going to notice it right after the first one, but especially you get through the first 3 healings with me, you are going to realize you know how. Your soul knows how, because it just is. Just like how you can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, like you can tap into your other senses, you will realize that your psychic senses, your intuitive senses have always been there. They're right there. But it's beliefs and past trauma that shut that right down. Okay? So it's not a how, it's heal. And when you join Higher Self Awakening, the quantum healing will begin. And I'm just going to ask you, are you ready?